We don't have it, you don't need it. Easy money.
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Previously on the Stereo 999 YouTube channel.
Hello, greetings, and welcome. Welcome to the Stereo 999 YouTube channel. I am your host, the artist formerly known as Stereo Steve. And as you can see, I am beside myself. And the reason I'm beside myself is because this week's video is going to be a thread started by Martin's Vinyl over across the pond. And he started a thread that I thought was an interesting idea for a thread, and it was albums that you have two copies of or multiple copies of, and why you have two copies of them.
Okay, so last week I did the thread about the multiple copies of the same album, and after I posted it, I realized I got some more interesting ones that I should have talked about, and so I'm going to talk about those this week and just continue on that same theme, that same thread. We'll start out with this. This is the Orb, the great electronic 90s trippy band, the Orb, and this is their first album, The Orbs Adventures Beyond the Ultra World. And originally in America, it came out as a single disc, and track listing was kind of like that. And then back then I stumbled upon an imported copy of the double CD version, and it was later released in the US. I got rid of the UK one because it was kind of scratched up. But anyway, this is the 2 CD version of the Orbs Adventures Beyond the Ultra World. Besides not having the Pink Floyd Animals Factory on it, there are some very significant differences. I mean, at the end of the first disc, there are a couple of tracks that aren't on the single disc album, Backside of the Moon and Spanish Castles in Space. And on the second disc, the version of Perpetual Dawn and Star 6789 are totally different, longer, dubbed out versions. Where on this CD, it's the single version. Okay, moving right along. Almond Brothers, Eat a Peach. I love this inside cover. This is very psychedelic. But yeah, Eat a Peach, classic Almond Brothers album, dedicated to a brother. But here's the thing. There's a track called Mountain Jam. And on the original album, it's split up into two halves because the entire Mountain Jam is almost 40 minutes long. So if you look on this sheet, side 2 is Mountain Jam, and then side 4 is Mountain Jam Continued. So they split Mountain Jam in half across two sides of this double album. Now I also have Eat a Peach on CD because the CD version of Eat a Peach has the entire 33-minute long Mountain Jam smack dab in the middle of the album and ends with Little Martha, which would be the end of side 3. So they stitched Mountain Jam back together, and it's uninterrupted on the CD version of Almond Brothers Eat a Peach. Yeah. Okay. And this is another one of my primordial childhood records. My dad gave me this when I was 5, and it kind of warped my whole mind and steered me towards psych music. This is Sandy Nelson. Sandy Nelson was a drummer. A lot of his early records are kind of like, Richie Cunningham meets surf music, but with experimental pieces occasionally. Like Let There Be Drums is like that. But this album, Cheetah Beat, the crack team of uncredited studio musicians do some nice instrumental fuzzy versions of songs such as Happenings 10 Years Time Ago, You Got Me Humming, Mustang Sally, Winchester Cathedral, and Pandora's Golden Heebie-Jeebies, Mysterians, I Need Somebody, Please Don't Ever Leave Me by The Circle. And it's just a really nice kind of 60s vibe. And this is a mono copy, like I used to have back then. And this is the stereo copy. And I got two, because mono and stereo. And whoever this is, Gil Marquez, I guess originally owned this stereo copy of this. But there he is with his drums. Yeah. Okay, so, yeah. Mono and stereo. Different mix. But how many times have the mono and stereo been entirely different albums? Well, check this out. This is the classic. No collection of lounge music or exotica or tiki bar music is complete without Exotica by Martin Denny. And this is an original mono pressing of it on the green Liberty label, recorded in 1957. And here's the thing. Here's the stereo version of Martin Denny Exotica on this label. Same songs, but entirely different recording. He went back in the studio in 1959 and re-recorded this album for stereo, because the original was only done in mono. And there's different people in the band, like Julius Vector on vibes instead of Arthur Lyman on vibes in the original. But same catalog number, totally different performances. Who knew? Well, you know now because you watch this. Okay. Now this is one of my favorite movies, Head by the Monkees. And I have 3 different copies of Head by the Monkees that I will show you. Okay, this one this is the Rhino reissue from, let's see, I forget when, maybe sometime in the 90s. I know I should research this, but this is the first time that the Head soundtrack was reissued by Rhino, and it has the extended version of Porpoise Song as it appeared on the single and as it appeared on the Monkees picture disc with the little extra outro. Okay. The next copy of Head that I picked up was this Japanese copy that has the pictures of all four of them on the front instead of the Reflecto cover. And the picture on the back, like a different take from the same photo session and in color. And I believe this was the Arista reissue, white label promo. I think somebody who understands the language can, I think that little red sticker there means it's a promotional copy. But yeah, this is a Japanese copy. And last but not least, this is my original copy with other albums you can buy, like the Lewis and Clark Expedition, and the Flying Nun soundtrack, and the Casino Royale. And guess who's coming to dinner? Nazi Dreadlock. Yeah. And there we go. OG Monkey's Head, U.S. Press.
This is an animation that shows a phonograph needle riding in an LP groove. As you can see, the stylus doesn't move up and down or side to side in the record groove. Since this is a stereo record, it actually has two channels of audio information encoded in one groove. So diagonal movements, sort of bottom left to top right, is one channel, and bottom right to top left is the other channel. So depending how the magnets move based on the vibrations picked up by that needle tip, you can get different signals sent to each channel. This is an animation that shows...
So yeah, another day of trying to maintain a bubble of tranquility in an increasingly chaotic universe. What would others think if they watched my adventurous perceptions on the screen? Would they think that I blew it because I'm not doing enough? You know, seems like the rest of the world takes a lot of this shit for granted. We're not going to be cool. They don't act like we humans are more than just machines. Very mechanical perspectives that they view the world. But what can you do, you know? You can take everything for granted and just always want more. Treasure the glimpses of awesomeness. Perspectives is just different. It's hard when the rest of the world
Okay, next I have two copies of the Clash Combat Rock. Okay, and classic album. But this one with this label is the original, and the song Inoculated City has a sample from a commercial for toilet cleaner, and the manufacturer of the toilet cleaner threatened a lawsuit, and later copies of the album removed the sample. And so here's a second pressing with this label that has the edited version of that track. Jimi Hendrix Experience Smash Hits. And this is American pressing. I mean, it's not an OG. It doesn't have the orange and brown, and it has the little Warner Brothers, and it's got the pictures of them in Western garb with the horsies on the back cover. And even if you got the other albums, this is still worth getting, because there's some songs on here that weren't on their other albums. I mean, in the US anyway. Songs that were just on 45s, songs like Stone Free, songs like Red House and Remember and Can You See Me that were on the UK version of Are You Experienced, but not the American album. And then this is an import copy from Holland. And as you can see, different track listing than the US one. It's got some B-sides like 51st Anniversary, Highway Child, and Stars That Play with Laughing Sam's Dice, aka STP with LSD, and on Polydor. And it says stereo, also playable mono. But yeah, those are my two different versions of Jimi Hendrix smash hits. Okay. All right. Now this is a 60s psychedelic kind of poppy record that I just love. And the band is called The New Mix. Ungoogleable band name, but really nice melodic psychedelic pop tunes, especially the first two songs, While We Waited and Ursula, and then Ever Brighter. Great songs. The thing is, this is a pretty short album, and this A Karma reissue was on a 10-inch record. I liked it so much that I dug up an original copy on United Artists. Full 12-inch. Here's what's interesting. They did kind of a negative on the reissue, where the original looked like that. But yeah, mustache rock. Okay. Now we'll get into some jazz fusion, some confusion, some jazz fusion. Terry Ripdahl, Odyssey. Norwegian guitarist. Very, very trippy stuff. And this is the first time that this album was issued on CD. And ECM Records decided to kind of cut corners on this, because it says here in the notes, to enable the release of Odyssey as a single compact disc, the tune Rolling Stone has been omitted from the original LP edition. Well, it's just one measly little song, right? Well, here's the original LP edition. Double album, recorded in Oslo in 1975. Rolling Stone is 23 minutes long, the entire fourth side of the album. And I think they've since corrected the situation. I mean, you can hear the entire album on streaming. I think there is now a double CD version of this very cool album. Okay, now for something completely different. The world's greatest trumpet virtuoso and his sons, Robert and Ralph. This is Trumpet Extraordinary by Rafael Mendes from Mexico. So yeah, kind of Mexican mariachi-esque. But this is an original mono copy with the original plastic sleeve. A New World of Sound on Decca Records from the 50s. 50s style Decca. That kind of hard plastic that some of the real old records had. And this is a later stereo copy from the 60s with this type of Decca label. And you'll notice the layout is different too. The typefaces are different. Which one is cooler? They're both cool for their own ways. But yeah, the Brave Matador, Trumpeter's Lullaby. One of the best versions of Flight of the Bumblebee that you'll ever hear. And this is not a huge money record. You will find this in thrift store. And it's kind of fun. Okay, last but not least, another thrift store type record. Anson Weeks and his orchestra. Dancing with Anson at the Sheraton Palace. See, look, they're partying like it's 1929. And here's the thing. Nostalgia was always marketable. This is retro 1930s music played by a band in the 50s. And if you remember, a couple of videos ago, I was talking about fantasy records and how in the 50s they pressed their mono records on red vinyl and their stereo records on blue vinyl. But all three copies of this I have are kind of oddball pressings as far as the colored vinyl business. Well, this one, stereo, it's got a sticker that says stereo. It has the blue vinyl and the blue stereo label. This one is mono, but it has the blue stereo label on the red mono pressing by mistake. And this came from the wonderful community thrift store. And this one is some crazy red and black leopard speckled pressing. Yeah. Which reminds me that years ago, maybe a couple years ago, I tried to start a thread relating to colored vinyl. Nobody jumped on that. Maybe I'll put the link in the description. Anyway, let me know what you thought in the comments, or just say hi. You know, any old comment will get me a little more traffic, so don't be afraid. Okay then, that's my video. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, leave a comment.